everyone, I am here today with a pretty quick video just to talk about an additional piece of gear that I brought along on my most recent Camino. I try to keep a pretty small packing list, like I try not to bring too many extra things, but over the years as I've done additional Caminos, I have kind of figured out what works for me, and I've added a few things. So I would say that this past summer, the kind of most interesting thing I added was an electric coil. So here's the whole thing. It's got a kind of long cord. This is the coil. I think first heard about this 2 years ago in 2019 when I was walking the Norte. I met a couple from Germany, I think, who had one of these, and they were making tea in the albergue early in the morning. And they were just talking about how great this is. They're like, we can heat up water with it anytime we want. We don't have to rely on cafes being open. It's a really comforting thing. They loved it. And they were like, you should look into this. So I was doing a little reading on the Camino forum, and I found several posts all about the electric coil. And I'll try to link to those in the notes section of this video. But it kind of got me thinking like, oh, maybe it's something I'd want to try. So my reasonings for buying one, it was mostly for coffee. So I need to have coffee in the morning. I have coffee first thing every morning. If I don't drink coffee, I will start to, get a bit of a headache. My head feels foggy. It's not the most fun. When I'm on a Camino, generally it's not a problem, but usually at least once, maybe twice on any given Camino, I've had to walk multiple kilometers in the morning without coffee first. And so I thought an electric coil would be a great way to ensure that I could always have coffee in the morning before I set out. So this year, I bought one of these for my Camino this year. I brought along some little instant coffee packets, and then I also brought this cup that I have. It's just like a camping cup. It has this outer sleeve and then this plastic kind of, just the plastic cup that fits inside. And so that was kind of what I brought along. So the electric coil comes with, this is the actual coil. It comes in this little pouch. That's what I kept it in. And it also comes with this plug adapter. And it's super easy to use. I think the biggest key with this is that you cannot plug in or unplug the coil if it is not immersed in water. So what you want to do is fill a cup with water, you hook this on, put it into the water, and then plug it in. It takes I'm not sure how long it takes to heat up the water and kind of bring it to a soft boil, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then once, it's gotten hot enough, you want to unplug the coil and then take this out. But it works, not like magic, but it absolutely heats up the water. It works for coffee. So I think the kind of funny thing is this summer on the Camino, I actually never used this for coffee. I never needed to. I did bring along, like I said, some instant coffee packets, and I did use a few of those instant coffee packets, but I was generally, I think, in an albergue that had a little kitchen or a microwave, so I didn't have to use this. Where it kind of was a lifesaver was when I got food poisoning on the Camino, and I bought some instant soup packets and instant soup cups, and it was so wonderful. I was tucked away in a hotel room. I didn't have access to a kitchen or to a microwave, so I was able to use this coil to heat up soup. Also to make some tea. I did bring some tea packets from home. Knowing I had the coil with me this year, I kind of thought, I'll bring some tea too, just in case, I'm in the albergue in the evening and I ever want a hot drink. So I think, so I use this coil several times, and I don't anticipate getting food poisoning on my next Camino. Let's hope that I don't. But despite that, I will still bring this coil because I really like having it as an option. I don't think it's something that for, if you're a pilgrim on your first Camino, that you need to look into something like this. If you are someone who drinks your coffee every morning, most of the more popular Camino routes, it's not going to be a problem. You most likely will be able to find an open albergue in order to get some coffee. I think, there might be foodies like me that you have a little bit of trouble, but, all my other Caminos, I was fine without something like this. But I think I'm kind of considering this a luxury item going forward. I think it could be a really helpful thing to have kind of on if you're doing a Camino in the off season. So when maybe things aren't open as much, if you're on a route that's not as popular, I was a big reason I brought this is that knew I was walking the Camino to Invierno, and that is not a well-traveled route. So I was a little concerned about finding open bars and cafes. And I think also kind of during times of COVID and this pandemic, probably and quite possibly a lot more bars and restaurants are closed. So it could just be helpful to have. The other thing that I want to add, so bringing this cup along, and this was sort of, I think, maybe the best new thing that I've learned on this year's Camino. I first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring a cup, but then I was like, well, if I have the electric coil, what am I gonna, drink my coffee in? So I'm like, okay, I've got to bring a cup with me. This is super lightweight. I'd already had this. I've had this for several years. And I kind of thought, I carry a really small pack, so I was a little bit worried about the volume of the pack and not having room inside the pack. But I was like, well, I could just hang it off my pack. Then I read somewhere on the Camino forum that you could use, right, the little kind of cup holder thing on the side of your pack to keep this in. So it fits in here really nicely, like so. And so as you're walking, if you keep a water bottle in here, the water bottle just fits right inside. And I have a Nalgene. I actually meant to bring it over, but it's in my kitchen. In any case, though, my Nalgene kind of fits inside here really easily. And I think for me, the nicest thing about that is, when I walk and keep that water bottle in the side pocket, my pack is small enough and it fits well enough that as I'm walking, I can just reach behind me, grab the water bottle and put it back without having to take off the pack or stop or have someone help me. Sometimes though, it's a little tricky when my pack is really full. It can be a little hard to sort of wedge the Nalgene bottle back in the pack. When I have the rain cover on my pack, I can get out the water bottle, but it's next to impossible to maneuver it, move the rain cover back with one hand and drop the water bottle back. It just is a bit of a hassle. It's been a good system, it's what I've always done, but it's not a perfect system. What I found though, carrying that plastic cup, putting that inside first, it kind of created this structure so that the Nalgene bottle, I could take it out and put it back in so easily. And even when I had my rain cover on, it was still so easy to access. So that is probably a bit of advice that is not going to apply to anyone, but for me, it was this great thing. And so now, I think I'm always going to plan to carry a cup with me on the Camino because it also just comes in handy for stuff. I had that moment when I was on the Hospitalis route on the Primitivo when I was walking kind of with Rudolf, a man from Slovakia that I had met in the albergue the night before, and we had got to pretty much the top of the climb of Hospitalis, and he had carried up a beer with him that he opened to celebrate, and he wanted to share it with me and said, oh, do you have a cup? And I was able to say, yes, actually I do, and he shared his drink with me. So that was, to me, I was also okay, great. This is a time when having, something like a cup could come in handy. So again, I think, having an electric coil and maybe bringing an extra cup isn't going to be for every pilgrim, but I think if it sounds like a good idea, it might be something to check out. Okay, well, I will hopefully be back soon with a few more videos. Hope you're all doing well.